Welcome back to Morning Live as we celebrate June 16. It may have started in Soweto, but that was the spark that let the flame rise throughout South Africa. Nomawethu Solwandle is standing by in Langa in Cape Town. She's broadcasting from Xolile Mosie's house. Mosie was killed during the student protest on the 11th of August in Langa. Nomawethu, a very good morning to you.
Well, a very good morning to you, Valen. Indeed, we are coming to you live from Brinton Street in Langa here on the Cape Flats, one of the longest and most well-known streets here in Langa. And just behind us is the Mosie family home, a very significant house as well. Like you said, Xolile Mosie was one of the young people that were gunned down here by apartheid police on the 11th of August 1976. But to tell us more about who Xolile Mosie was, we are now joined by his cousin Usis Buyiswa Fasi. Thank you so much for joining us, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ma'am, just tell us about that day when Xolile Mosie was gunned down. Just how did you come to hear about the news?
I was at work that morning, and later in the morning I received a call to come back home because Xolile was shot dead. When I got here, my mother was here, and we tried to phone Xolile's mother, who was working at the pylons. And the family gathered together, and how we got the news, my two young brothers, they were all at the same school with Xolile. They came running to the house telling my mom that Xolile is been shot dead in front of the police station.
Now, this was a very tragic death for a 19-year-old because he was part of a peaceful march on that day. Just tell us more leading to the funeral. What was the mood like here in Brinton Street?
And the very same day, the house, my mother's house, we were guarded by police. Police cars all over the place watching us in and out. And what happened later on, there were police came to the house to see us, telling my Xolile's mother that they are needed to go to Wynberg Magistrate Court. The next morning, but some of the family members, they went to Wynberg Magistrate Court, where they were told that Xolile his body has been arrested. So they were given permission to bury Xolile in conditions. One was, we mustn't have any gathering here, no prayer meetings, and the day of the funeral, the students are not allowed to be here, and the day of the funeral, we only allowed 50 family members only.
Now, Sis Buyiswa, on that point, I just want to move to Xolile Mosie's colleagues here was part of that march on that day, Ubutshisa Katangana. Just tell us about what happened on that day, on the 11th of August, when you started with that protest.
When we started the protest, at the school, in Langa High School. At the back, there is a field there, a soccer field, rugby field, which was used, and we had to go and assembly there during the session of school time. And then thereafter we hold our meeting of protesting, because previously, a day before that, we had a meeting, a small meeting in our hall at the Form 2 classes alongside Jungle Walk. That's where we decided, and the message came from wherever it was coming from, to say that we are sympathizing with the people, with the student that was shot dead in this today, 1976. So the following day we assembled, and obviously the message has went across all the schools in Gugulethu and in Nyanga, that is Fezeka and Aitim Kize and Mabua. Then that way actually got the message But we actually here at Langa High School started the protest, and then we went through to the police station peacefully. And when we got to the police station, the police started to harass us, and then some of our fellow students were arrested. And then everything broke loose. So we returned to the school ground again. When we went back to the school again to gather to see what are we going to do now, fortunately, one of our fellow student, which came with the small boats that we had to write on the boards that we are not fighting with the police or the regime. We want our fellow student to be released. And then we went back. Before we went back, there came a hovering helicopter that hovered on top of us whilst we are assembling at the same grounds where we were. But now, still, everything went berserk. So everybody went through all direction, and then after that, we gathered again, and then we went to the police station.
Tell us about that moment when Xolile Mosie was shot dead.
We were there. We went to the police station the second time around on that very same day, peacefully, with the boats that were leading to all the people to see that we are not fighting with the police. We just want our fellow students to be released. And then we changed the directions while we were going to the police station, through to Mendi, to right round Tembani School to Lerotoli, and then we came under the trees next to the Methodist Church in Washington Street, whilst the police were watching us standing in the gate of the police station, and then just across the street where we had our boats telling them that to release our students. So the negotiations were done. But whilst we're done, since we're still very young at that point in time, at that year, so there were some guys that were very active, that were busy, like Xolile, and we thought that because Xolile died, he was shot, but not by the police that was standing in front, but whoever policeman that was standing at the back shot him.
Mr. Katangana, we're going to have to cut it very short there. A very long story, a very tragic story that happened down here in Langa on the 11th of August in 1976. But of course, 40 years later, families and friends still remember. Back to you in the studio, Valen.